let's talk about how a dismissive avoidant is created. My name is Austin. I am a relationships coach that helps people heal their attachment wounds and work on cultivating a healthier relationship with yourself and with your partner. Buckle up, let's get into this. So for those of you that don't know, the dismissive avoidant is one of the 3 insecure attachment styles, and they struggle to connect with people because they fear love. How did this come to be? Well, they were emotionally neglected as children. They did not get emotional attunement. So whenever they had emotions, their parents either weren't there for them or they dismissed them. And so let's talk about how that impacts someone. That is why they are the lone wolves. That's why they are very independent. That is why they struggle to be emotionally vulnerable, because no one ever was to them in their childhood. So they never learned those skills. And when they never learned those skills, something that is unfamiliar to your nervous system feels like danger, not like safety. But now getting even deeper, that's where we get into the physiology. When you bond with someone, when you are able to build a connection that is safe, then you actually secrete and release oxytocin, which is a bonding hormone. But what happens to the dismissive avoidant is they never really get that released. So then those oxytocin receptors get down regulated, and then they don't bond with people because they become very independent. Their nervous system doesn't prioritize that because they never learned that it was safe. And when that type of adaptation occurs, that is what leads to them struggling to be inside of a romantic relationship. So what happens is they run on what we call the dopamine cortisol pathway. Dopamine is what gives us that feeling of reward inside of our brain, and that it's a very temporary feeling. It's not something that's supposed to last indefinitely. So that's why the dismissive avoidants have what we call the bait and switch, is they show up in the beginning of the relationship totally fine, and they're not triggered yet because their wounds and their traumas haven't been activated. But then when they do, then they pull away. So that's like the first 4 to 6 months they show up as a completely different person, and then out of nowhere they pull away. That's because their fears get activated and the dopamine has run out. So then cortisol starts to spike, because cortisol goes up when your wounds get triggered because your nervous system is activated out of parasympathetic. Then they start to run away. And so then they have a down regulation of vasopressin receptors and oxytocin receptors, which are needed to bond and create a sense of safety. And because they never got that in childhood, then when you try to bond with someone inside of a relationship later on in life, the romantic ones, they struggle to do that because they never learned how, and because they never learned how, their body doesn't prioritize it. If this landed for you and you want some extra help, or you want some information or references, go to the link in my bio. There are free guides there that I've created on attachment style wounding behaviors, how you navigate conflict, polyvagal theory. There's also books that I recommend, and there's also coaching as well. Hope that helps.